She took up collecting pull tabs from soda cans the humans would throw into the water. No one knew why or dared to ask. Mrs. Codger screamed at the sight of the bobber. Sally's eyes popped wide open. Poor Sally jumped higher than anyone had ever seen and fell into the water with a large splash. The startled little salamander was swimming for shore while Mrs. Codger was yelling for her to come and get the bobber out of her sight. Toto and Buddy were rolling with laughter as Sally pulled herself out of the water. Her drenched bow covered her eyes as she stomped over to her friend. Lucky was laughing so hard he was blowing bubbles in the water. Scout could hardly stay airborne. He was laughing his funny little cackle. Sally wrung out her bow, stomped off, and said, "I'm never playing with you again." The wide-eyed friends shrugged as they waved goodbye. They waited for the bobber to float back and continued playing. From across the pond, the friends could hear lots of laughter and splashing. Curious friends decided to go check it out. Toto leaped into the water to lead the way across the pond while Buddy and Scout flew overhead. When the group arrived, they saw a new family of frogs had moved in. The frogs were all splashing and swimming at the pond's edge. There were 5 young frogs, and they all welcomed Toto and his friends. The newcomers had just moved from a quiet community called Savart. "Come and play," shouted several frogs in the water. "What are you playing?" asked Buddy. The frogs explained how they would find a large pebble at the water's edge. Each one would then hold their breath, walk out into the water as far as they could. After letting go of the pebble, they would quickly pop to the top of the water like a bobber. As each of the frogs got out of the water and took their turn, it was the last frog, named Cherubi, that made Toto and his friends stare with their mouths and eyes wide open. There in front of them was the fattest frog they had ever seen. "Oh my," said Polly. "I won't ever call Toto fat again." "Wow," said Lucky. "What a whopper frog." "She could dress up for a whale for Halloween," laughed Buddy. "She could be Shamu the killer frog," said Mandy. "Shh," said Toto. "She'll hear you." But it was already too late. All of the frogs heard them. Cherubi hung her head as she kicked a pebble. The flat pebble whizzed just past Polly, almost hitting her. "Hey," yelled Toto, "that's my sister." "She's not only fat," said Scout, "she's mean too." "She's not mean," said one frog. "You are." "Go home," shouted all the frogs. "Well, so long to you too," yelled Toto. "Hope you have a whale of a good day," yelled Buddy as everyone laughed and waved goodbye. "I mean a humongous one," laughed Scout. "Quit it, you guys," said Toto as they all went back to the other side of the pond. The pond friends were laughing and still talking about the fat little frog when they reached the other side. "What is so funny?" asked a deep, calm voice. Everyone stopped. There on the bank was Captain Snap, the wisest old turtle in the whole world, according to Toto and his friends. He was also the oldest resident at the pond. It was said that Captain Snap knew everyone in the area, even before they were born. "Well," said Toto, and he began telling Captain Snap about the fat little frog named Cherubi. "What do you think, Toto?" asked the wise old turtle. "I think we shouldn't have made fun of her so she could hear us. I think it hurt her feelings," said Toto. "Hurt her feelings?" asked Buddy. "She almost hurt your sister." "I saw a tear in her eye," said Polly. "I think she was hurt, and I think she kicked the rock because she was angry." One of your groups is missing. "Polly," said Captain Snap, "you are a wise little pollywog. Why do you think her friends were playing with her?" he asked. "Because they like her," said Mandy. "When you like someone, it doesn't matter how big they are or what they look like." "Yeah," said Buddy. "We love Scout, and he's ugly." Everyone laughed. The wise turtle continued. "Do fat people and ugly people have feelings like you do?" "Of course," said Toto. "That's why I was trying to make everyone talk so quiet so she couldn't hear." "Why say anything at all so anyone could hear?" asked Captain Snap. "If she is the same inside as you and I, then why not see her and get to know her like her friends have? What wonderful friends she must have to try to protect her from hurtful comments." The little pond friends hung their heads. It was they who had hurt someone with their words and brought them to tears. The other little frogs now thought Toto and his friends were thoughtless and rude and not worth playing with. The friends decided to go back over to the little frogs and try again. "So what have you learned?" reviewed the wise old turtle. "If you can't say something nice about someone, don't say it at all," they all sang out together. "Accept people the way they are," added Toto. "You have learned well," said Captain Snap. "Now go and make amends." When the 5 little frogs saw Toto and his friends approaching, they started to get out of the water. Toto stepped up first. "We're sorry we were so thoughtless. Can you forgive us?" asked Toto. "Let's start over and all play together," added Betty. "We would love to show you around the pond," Polly said as she swam next to the fat little frog. "It's okay," Polly said as she nudged to Ruby. "We want to be your friend too." "We are all so sorry for hurting you. No one likes to be made fun of," apologized Mandy and Sally. Tears welled up in the fat little frog's eyes, and she and Polly hugged. The group began playing together and had a wonderful afternoon. As Cherubi joined in, everyone got to know her for whom she was on the inside. When Polly and Toto got home that night, their mother handed them each a tiny package from their Uncle Tad in Colorado. "They're so small," said Polly. "Sometimes the best things come in small packages," said their mother. Both Toto and Polly looked at each other and smiled. Together they said, "And sometimes the best things come in large packages." Their mother just looked puzzled as Polly and Toto unwrapped the prettiest and shiniest pebbles from their Uncle Tad. A blue one for Toto and a pink one for Polly. The end.
Thank you.
Did anyone have questions?
Well, we're just wondering if anyone has some questions they'd like to ask our author. It's not very often that we have an author get to read the story to us, so if you have your questions, if you would raise your hand and your teacher could call on someone, we'd be glad to try and answer them for you.
First, let's go to South Haven. South Haven, your camera is pointing up. Can you put it back down a little bit?
There they are.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, questions from South Haven. If you have a question, please raise your hand and your teacher will call on you.
No questions? Hold on.
Okay.
Can I tell?
South Haven, are you still there? Okay, we don't see it. Okay, there it goes.
Ceiling.
There we go.
Ceiling.
Your screen went black for a minute.
I should also tell you that in each of the books, there's a series of books, but in each of the books, there's a hidden tribute to Todd and Mandy's little brother, Travis. He died when he was a baby. So in each of the books at the very front, they're written in memory of Travis. So you'll find hidden tributes. Sometimes that'll be on the bank. You'll see it written in the bank. Sometimes you'll see it on a cattail. If you heard, the new little comers were from the town Savart, and that is Travis spelled backwards. So you'll find hidden tributes in each of the books.
Any other questions out there?
Any questions from Caldwell?
You are all very, very quiet. Are you always that quiet? I didn't think so. Doing a good job listening. And no questions? Okay, well, let's thank Miss Linda for reading her story to us. Could you just give her a hand? Okay, good job. Thank you, Miss Linda. Now, I'm wondering how carefully everybody was listening to that story about Toto. And before we begin any further, let's see if anyone can help us identify the lessons that Toto and his friends learned in that story. Now, once again, we're going to ask the teachers to call on someone if you have your hand up, since I certainly don't know all your names. Let's begin with Caldwell. Who can tell us one of the lessons that we might have learned